Hello everybody and welcome back. We are going to be talking about Jurassic World Chaos Theory once more, as we just got a new trailer and it left us with a big surprise for the story, as it revealed that Brooklyn is in fact dead and gone and is no longer part of the New Blar 6, as it is now the New Blar 5. Or is she? That's right guys, a lot of people are in the mix on whether or not she's actually dead, because the trailer does imply that she's fully gone out of the picture, and with the news of Jenna Ortega no longer being a part of the Jurassic franchise anymore, it seems concrete. But does it really? Well, we have a few things that we need to talk about in order to do this. Now, first of all, before anyone goes on the comments saying, this video is rubbish, this is just a theory based on what we know from the trailer and information about the show. Now first, let's talk about the character. First of all, Brooklyn is one of the most popular of the campers, and in fact is my second favorite of the campers, with the first being Kenji, as I love his story, and I also love her story, and their character growth is probably the strongest of all the characters in my personal opinion, with Darius being the only rival. However, one of the things that we need to talk about with Chaos Theory is actually a detail with Jenna Ortega leaving the program, as information has stated that she was not part of Jurassic World Chaos Theory whatsoever. So that means all of her scenes that we saw in the trailer for Brooklyn weren't actually voiced by Jenna Ortega, or at least that's what it implies. So taking that with salt, one of the first bits of information that we had for this show was the information of a new casting call for a new voice actor to take up a character, specifically a character named Sydney, who, apart from some small details, all of her description of the character was very much like Brooklyn, which, for some people, such as myself, we interpreted that as maybe this is a situation that makes it very like Brooklyn, in fact. After all, Brooklyn's name is, well, Brooklyn, the city of New York, and also Sydney as in Sydney, Australia. And also, if I'm not mistaken, Brooklyn's original name was supposed to be London, so that's just one thing to think about, but that's not really important to this. But one thing that is important is the fact that it describes the character as losing an arm, which makes it very interesting for this situation. So first, let's talk about what we see. Well, in the trailer we see that Brooklyn is in a situation where she is saying, Darius, you were supposed to be here, where are you? Then suddenly, as she looks behind her, we see an Allosaurus. But not just any Allosaurus, but the Allosaurus that was featured in Battle at Big Rock. We know this as the fact that it does have a blind eye on the right side of it, and most importantly, guys, we see that the Allosaurus then starts to chase her as she runs away, or as it's implied. However, one detail that some of you may have noticed, but not all may have noticed, is the fact that when Brooklyn is running away, just before her camera starts to glitch out and it transitions to the next scene of the trailer, we see a yellow light. But this is not a light that matches anything she has on her. The light that was protruding before was from her phone or camera that she was using, and this light does not really fit. It's not like the Allosaurus, after all, has a flashlight with it. So, what could this yellow light be? Well, there's a few options. For one, she seems to be in an isolated location that, considering her character and how we saw her at the end of Camp Cretaceous, she's a journalist and investigator, which means very likely she's in a place she shouldn't be. And that leads to what it could be. The light could be from a vehicle or a facility that has spotted her. Now, what does this mean for her living? Well, it's very simple. If we look at the situation, it's very likely that it could be presented as she was killed by this Allosaurus. However, it's very likely that the story will have it that she is not actually killed, but she is quote-unquote rescued by these mysterious figures that caused her to have a light that doesn't match on her showcase in the trailer. So because of this, she may think that she is safe, however she's in a far worse situation than she already was, as the Allosaurus would have just killed her, but now she is kidnapped. But to everyone else, including the New Blar 5 that are remaining, they think that she is dead. And this would be a pretty good way to build up to the season finale, in my personal opinion. But what is the description of Sydney for the character voice actor call that has to play with this? Well, it's simple. The fact that she loses an arm. And it's very likely what could have happened is that Brooklyn actually did get attacked by the Allosaurus, but managed to escape just barely, or just survived by the skin of her teeth. After all, later in the trailer we see the Allosaurus is captured and is being taken away by some mysterious people, though we're not sure who. So because of this, it's very likely that this Allosaurus may have caused major injury to Brooklyn, and while she may have at first thought she was saved by people, it's very likely that she not only loses her arm, but also is captured. And this would be a pretty strong way of showing how dark the show is. We already know that, based on the ratings of this show, that the violence and tone of this is going to be much darker. The creators have said that this is going to be far darker than anything in Camp Cretaceous was, and based on how the trailer already showed us that the violence for characters with dinosaurs will already be much more violent than it was in Camp Cretaceous, I'd say that would be a strong way to do it. But where does this lead Brooklyn's character, and why do I think she would be alive still? Well, it's simple. It would be a great way to bridge the next season, because based on what the trailer shows, apart from some arcs with the Atrociraptors and the new creatures and such, and this Allosaurus, Brooklyn's character seems to be the arc that holds the whole story together, at least for this season specifically. But I think her character will lead on to the next season or other seasons. We already know that there are other seasons happening, as it was confirmed not too long ago, but ignoring that, I think that it would be a great way to use her character. Killing her character fully off just because Jenna Ortega is no longer going to voice her seems like a major waste for the character. She's one of the most unique characters in the franchise so far, and to just kill her off just like that doesn't seem like it would work too well. If they do it with one of the other campers by the end of the show, I think that would make sense if we see it done right. But just killing her off straight away just doesn't make sense. But how does this connect with other seasons, I hear you ask? Well, a lot of shows will have a character be the reason that a show will continue. One of the ways that they could continue the show outside of this arc that they're doing for this one, because based on what the trailer implies, is that they're basically trying to figure out who's hunting them down and deal with them, and then they go back to their lives. But in order to get it to be a story that they all will need to continue on, there is two things that they can do. One, by the end of the season, reveal that Brooklyn is in fact alive to the campers, have them reunite as the Nublar 6 once more, and have Brooklyn reveal that there is a new plot that must be taken care of. This could involve many things, including the black market operations with the Atrociraptors. It could even involve Biosyn, maybe Mr. Khan or something. There's so many options on what it could be that could lead to a larger story. Or, and this would be a great way, they could have, like, say in episode 9, at the end of it, they have like a little flashback episode where we see what happens to Brooklyn. Similar to what they did in season 2 for Ben After All. They did that with Ben After All and it worked fine for pretty much everyone, apart from the fact that he fought a Carnotaurus. But ignoring that part, everyone seemed to love that Ben was back, and also that he was growing as a character. And if they did that with Brooklyn, I think a lot of people would appreciate that too. At least they wouldn't waste her character by killing her off straight away. And then after episode 9, we get the reveal in episode 10 where the campers reunite with her, and then we get a reveal that this is not the end, we have a new threat that must be taken care of. Or they could go the other route and have it where season 1 will end with it specifically being that the campers figure out all the story for this first season, they stop the bad guy for this season, and then they find out that there's a bigger story. And they find motivation that gets them to want to deal with it. And that could be, Brooklyn is alive. And they find out that she's alive, and that could be the cliffhanger that sets up season 2. Now, I myself would think that's a strong way to build it up, instead of it just being Brooklyn's alive already, and then her saying, guys, we gotta deal with another situation. Have it be that she is the situation that leads to season 2, and then them finding her alive. Through that quest, they discover the bigger story and they need her help as well. That, in my opinion, would be great. Now, in terms of her being alive, I still think it's 50-50 right now, but based on what everyone is saying all over social media, I think it's very likely that she will be revealed as alive, probably at the end of the season, and I'm all for it because I want to see more for her character, I want to see her character grow, and it's unfortunate that she won't be voiced by Jenna Ortega anymore for any fans of her, but still, they can still use the character. But that is my thoughts on this, guys. I want to hear your guys' in the comments down below. We've got so much to talk about for Chaos Theory, but in order for you guys to do that, I'll need you to leave a like, maybe subscribe to join the hunt. Stay safe out there, and remember that you are all amazing out there. Never forget that. Be safe out there, and until next time, guys, enjoy yourself.